Hello there and welcome to Nowhere to Hide. I hope you had a Merry Christmas. We've got some exciting news. Do you realize Idaho's population this last year passed the 2 million person mark? It's a pretty big, it's a big hurdle for the gem state. And unfortunately, it's not something that's well received by everybody. I don't know if you've heard people complaining about those Commiefornians coming here and corrupting our dear gem state. But you hear it more than you should. And actually, we're hearing it from conservative corners, which is kind of surprising because the reason a lot of those people are coming to the state is to get away from the collectivist woke nonsense that was being forced on them elsewhere. I've got details about what's really going on with those Commiefornians and why we should be welcoming the ones who are here to embrace freedom.
All reporters are biased, the Idaho Press Club are biased, all media, newspaper, radio.
To be completely blunt here, Brian, and there are plans to expand
indoctrination.
That's right.
Well, Idahoans are also concerned.
Horror shot. That line would be moving a little bit farther west.
I'm like crying.
Nobody wants to see
dark money is influencing policy.
Once again, welcome to Nowhere to Hide. You know, I was excited when a friend sent me an article about Idaho's population reaching over the 2 million person mark. This is actually from a friend in Wyoming, or who grew up in Wyoming, sending me this from the Cowboy State Daily newspaper. Idaho has topped 2 million people for the first time, showing double-digit population growth. And that outpaces Wyoming, which remains the least populated state. So if you still need some elbow room, you might want to look to the east. They have less than 600,000 people. Here's the really interesting part, though. All the states around Wyoming, including Idaho, have seen explosive growth. Idaho is seventh out of those states around Wyoming. And yet we hear a lot of complaints about the people coming here. Well, they're coming from California and they're bringing, their liberal ideas and so forth. And look, I understand stereotypes exist for a reason, and sometimes there's a degree of truth, but let me share with you a brief example of what happened when I moved back to the gem state after being away for about 25 years. My family and I moved back in 2021, and within a few days of us moving back, someone smashed the windshield of our car. I know, it was just parked out there on the street overnight, and we came out in the morning and went, okay, the welcome wagon has been by, and this is not what we expected. And it was really interesting because I had friends who were longtime residents who said, do you still have your Utah plates on your car? You need to get those off quickly and get Idaho plates. And I thought, there's no way that people would be that petty. And by the way, I still believe it wasn't somebody out there we're going to show these people from Utah who what's what. I think it was probably neighbor kids who got carried away and accidentally smashed the windshield. But I see it coming from adults who really seem to resent the idea that people would come to their state. And then you start to hear this come up, particularly during a political year and during an election year. We heard people talking about, well, I've been a fifth generation Idahoan all my life. And they talk about it in this nativist sense where is there something more that we could unite on besides just, well, what's your pedigree? Where were you born? And so forth. That sounds like it plays into the hands of the left, or at least into the group identity, which is collectivism and one of the uglier forms of it. Let's break down some of the numbers here from the Cowboy State Daily about how Idaho's population has grown relative to those of the other states around us. And then I have a great suggestion to share about where we should be looking for common ground. So the Cowboy State Daily reports, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the state's population reached 2,001,619 as of July 1st of this year. That marks an increase of 30,497 residents from the previous year. Now, that's a growth rate of 1.5%, which places Idaho as the seventh fastest growing state in the nation, continuing a long-running trend of population expansion that replaced the dairy farms around the Boise suburb of Meridian with subdivisions. And they joke in the article about how they used to have their dairy days, but now they need to call it subdivision days. And it's true, there are growing pains that come along with this. Now let's compare this to Wyoming's population, which saw only slight growth of 0.4% from July 2023 to July 2024, with a net migration of 2,146 residents. Their numbers still stand at just under 600,000. And it's been interesting because they've had some booms and busts according to the energy sector. And so they haven't seen a lot of consistent growth. But other states, oh man. According to Nielsberg research, Utah has experienced remarkable growth. increasing by 1.17 million people between 2000 and 2023, reaching a total of 3.42. They're almost at 3.5 million people. Between 2013 and 2023, Utah's population grew by over 500,000, reflecting a 17.9% increase. By contrast, Colorado's population rose by 1.55 million during the same period, reaching 5.88 million, with a growth of 600,000 plus between 2013 and 2023. Now, both states have shown consistent year-over-year population growth with no declines from 2000 to 2023. But let's take a look at Montana as well. Montana has seen the most significant growth among the three states on Wyoming's eastern and northern borders, with its population growing from 903,305 in 2000 to an estimated 1.13 million in 2023. So their total growth is about 25.41%, an average annual growth rate of 1.10%. Now, these are just numbers, right? But no, these are people who are coming to these western states. And let's slide back into Idaho here and pose the question, why is it that so many people want to come here? And if your first response is, well, they're coming here because they want to change the way we do stuff, I'll grant you, there are some people out there who live to tell other people how to live. But have you ever talked to people who have moved here? I know that people are somewhat guarded. And if someone did move here from California, you ask them, so, where are you from? They might look around and, as long as nobody's too close, we're from California. But once you have talked to a lot of these folks, you will find that I'm guessing it's a majority. I don't know how to quantify it. I'm not a statistician. But many of them mentioned that the reason they came here is because it was a chance to get out from under what they saw as an unreasonable, extremely expensive, and extremely intrusive bureaucracy that pried into every possible area of their lives. Now, the crazy thing is, here in Idaho, we have people who, bear the name tag Republican, and I govern as a Republican, and I'm a Main Street Republican. But they want to govern like their Democratic counterparts. In fact, they move towards that idea of, we really should be subsidizing everything possible. We really should be trying to get ourselves involved, get government involved in as many areas of people's lives as possible. So I'm asking you to entertain the possibility that maybe people are coming here largely for the right reasons. And many of them are coming here prepared to roll up their sleeves and work. They're not coming for a free ride. They're coming because this is where freedom is found, and they're serious enough about it that they would vote with their feet. Can we at least agree? Action trumps rhetoric. And a person who cares enough to move to manifest what they actually believe, I'd say that's putting their belief into action. So what do? I really love how Parrish Miller puts this. Parrish Miller with the Idaho Freedom Foundation says, look, culture and values are more important than things like race, birthplace, or even religion. Those who prioritize the family, choose hard work over handouts, and embrace a culture of excellence are our allies. That's something we have to remember. And getting caught up in the semantics of, they came here from Commiefornia, and I get it. People are venting. We're all tired of that oppressive hand of government. I watched a video this morning from back in 2020 where a guy was skiing and was physically being attacked by staff at a ski resort because he didn't have a mask on. He had a medical exemption, but it didn't matter. The staff was attacking him because everybody else needs, and people are joining in. People are filming on their phones and they're laughing about it. Oh, what a prize. That's not how people who care about freedom should react. I can guarantee it was not Idaho where that was taking place. So if you cherish freedom, in fact, let me put it another way. If you love freedom and liberty more than you hate whoever gets under your skin, you're probably on the right path. But there were a lot of people who still seem to prioritize, this is who I don't like and here's who I'm against, above the more important thing, which is freedom. Think about what Parrish says there. If we have some common ground to work with, let's pull together and make sure that we keep the things that have made Idaho great for so many generations. It's not something that we can just set on autopilot and trust that, the politicians are going to take care of us from here on out. We have to be vigilant. Every single generation has to be raised to love liberty and be prepared to do the heavy lifting. So it's our turn. Let's get to it. I'm Brian Hyde, and this is Nowhere to Hide.
All reporters are biased. The Idaho Press Club are biased. All media, newspaper, radio.
To be completely blunt here, Brian, and there are plans to expand
Indoctrination.
That's right.
Idahoans are also concerned.
Horror shot.
That line would be moving a little bit farther west.
I'm like crying.
Nobody wants to see
Dark money is influencing policy.